article, From Karst to Cars, a first principles journey from Croatia to entrepreneurship in Florida. Hey there! Ever stop to think about the foundational why behind your life choices? I did, and it turns out if you break down a personal journey using first principles, the core, unbreakable rules of geology, economics, and human psychology, you get one heck of an interesting story. My life, starting from a tiny town in Croatia to launching a car detailing business in sunny Florida, is a perfect example of these principles in action. Let's dive in and see how the basic laws of the universe shaped my path. Part I Initial Conditions. My Croatian genesis in Ogulin. My personal story kicks off on August 11, 1998, in Ogulin, Croatia. Now, this isn't just a random birthplace. It's the initial condition that set my life's clock. To truly understand it, we have to talk about what makes Ogulin tick. Ogulin, more than a map it's a karst wonderland. Forget generic geography. Ogulin is defined by its strange, beautiful, and deeply scientific environment. 1. The bedrock of logic. Karst geology. First principle here is limestone solubility. This whole region is built on limestone, and water over eons has dissolved it. This isn't just picturesque. It's a geological axiom that dictates everything. Disappearing water. The most mind-bending result is that rivers vanish. The Dobra River plunges right beneath the old Frankopan castle into the famous Ula's abyss. Ogulin Poner, a prime example of a karst sinkhole. The water runs like a subway system underground, making surface streams rare. The big sinkholes. The landscape is dotted with Dolini's sinkholes and wide, fertile Polji's plains, like the one Ogulin sits on. It all comes down to basic chemistry, water and calcium carbonate reacting over deep time. 2. History's firm rule, frontier and fortress. Ogulin, as past, is dictated by the first principle of strategic necessity. Why a castle? Defense, the Ottoman checkpoint. The century Frankopan castle wasn't built for looks. It was a fortress on the military frontier. Vojna Krajina, the defensive line against the Ottoman Empire. Living here meant centuries of resilience, resourcefulness, and being on high alert. Post-war, being born in means I came into a Croatia that was just starting to breathe after the War of Independence. The atmosphere was one of rebuilding and transition, a society figuring out its next economic and cultural steps. This environment of flux created the perfect push factor for my parents. 3. Cultural first principle, storytelling and identity. Humans always try to make sense of the powerful landscape, which leads to folklore. The legend of Ula, that big sinkhole. It's named for a tragic legend about a woman who took her life there. It's a classic example of using narrative to explain a dramatic natural phenomenon. Literary roots. Ogulin is also the hometown of Ivana Brli Morani, the famous children's author. Her fairy tales, rooted in Slavic lore, show how this beautiful, often mysterious landscape became a catalyst for creative output. In short, my very first month was spent in a town shaped by millennia of chemistry, centuries of war, and rich, powerful storytelling. Part 2, The Great Leap, from Ogulin to Jacksonville, Florida, a mere month after I arrived. My parents applied the first principle of aspirational migration, seeking the best environment for future opportunity. We traded the cool, mountainous karst for the humid, subtropical coast of Florida. Analyzing the move, the push-pull dynamic. The decision to migrate is rarely simple, but it always adheres to a push-pull dynamic. The push leaving Croatia, the primary push was likely economic and stability-based. Post-war economies often struggle, and for young parents, the uncertainty and limited job breadth can create a strong motivation to leave. The pull towards Jacksonville, the American dream axiom. This is the big, powerful pull, the perception of vast economic opportunity, strong institutions, and social mobility. The social network principle. Did my family know people in Jacksonville? Absolutely. Having friends or family established somewhere is a massive pull factor, providing a crucial soft landing and reducing the risk of relocation. A new environment. Jacksonville offered a different kind of economy, a major port, military hub, and tourism center which presented different avenues for work than a post-industrial European economy. Immediate environmental change. That plane ride was a literal crossing of geographical and cultural dividing lines. I went from the temperate zone to the subtropics. I grew up immersed in a car-centric culture. Florida rather than a public, Transit 1 Europe. My identity was formed in a place where I was exposed to English and American media from the start. Although the Croatian influence from my parents remained a vital background texture. This highlights the first principle of cultural imprinting during early development. Part 3 Entrepreneurial Genesis, the car detailing startup. Fast forwarding to when I was old enough to choose my own path. The car detailing business wasn't a random gig. It was a pure application of entrepreneurial first principles, the principle of market demand. Seeing the gap, every business starts with a problem people are willing to pay to solve. The problem gap: people own cars. Huge, valuable assets. Cars get dirty. Especially in Florida's humidity, sun, and with all the pollen or bugs, people are busy. They value time over the effort of deep cleaning. The solution, an on-demand, high-quality detailing service, directly addresses this. I focused on the segment of the market that values a pristine vehicle but lacks the time or skill to maintain it themselves. Internal algorithms, the drive to be the boss, choosing to start a business rather than getting a conventional job, speaks too deep. Personal first principles, autonomy, the fundamental desire to control my own schedule, income, and quality standards, resourcefulness. Detailing has a relatively low entry cost: a bucket, towels, chemicals, and effort. The primary investment is time and sweat equity. I learned the techniques, acquired the minimal gear, and started hustling. Value creation. I wasn't just selling a service. I was selling time back to the client and preserving the value of their vehicle. This exchange of value is the core economic principle of any service business. See operational first principles, building trust and quality. Day-to-day work of the business required mastering a few key operational principles. Skill mastery: the science. Detailing isn't just washing. It's applied science. I had to learn chemistry, which pH-neutral soap to use. Physics: the correct pad and compound for paint correction. And material science: how to treat different upholsteries. This is the principle of technical expertise doing the job better than the average person. Social proof and reputation marketing. My best marketing wasn't a billboard. It was the principle of social proof. A consistently beautiful result led to word-of-mouth referrals. In a service business, trust is the currency, and high quality is the only way to earn it. Financial discipline: I had to constantly balance competitive pricing with profitability. I reinvested earnings into better equipment like a professional steamer or extractor to increase efficiency and quality, a critical step in the principle of scaling operations. Conclusion: the emergent system. Looking back, the narrative of my life from the limestone caves of Ogulin to the slick, polished surface of a detailed car in Jacksonville is a fascinating study in emergent systems. The initial conditions: Croatia's history and geography created a specific family context. The external pressure and internal drive, push or pull of migration, initiated the rapid change. And the new environment, Jacksonville's car culture and economy, provided the perfect substrate for my entrepreneurial principles: autonomy, resourcefulness, and demand recognition to take root. My life is a continuous loop of scientific, economic, and psychological laws, proving that even a deeply personal story is fundamentally governed by the fascinating first principles of the world around us. It's been one wild, analytical ride so far.